Welcome, everybody, and I hope everybody's had a great weekend so far. And my name is Raven. I am a galactic conduit and also the owner of Angelic Abundance, a Reiki practitioner as well. And today I have a beautiful, beautiful special guest that has really overcome challenges and strength and courage and resilience and willpower and faith. And Ashley is a creator of the Spectrum of Strength. Really beautiful coloring books and literally just about self love affirmations and the faith in her healing journey that's led her literally to come to be here today, but also to where she has been and how much faith and resilience and courage, so much courage, a warrior spirit, and a shining light, literally a lighthouse, what she's literally spreading out and awareness to this world as we are to the collective consciousness, quite honestly. So, anybody that's listening and also listening to the replay, just feel free to grab you some coffee, some tea, whatever you prefer, and chill back and just, yes. So, welcome, Ashley. I'm
Hi.
so honored. I'm so honored and humbled to have you today. And thank you so very much.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm excited. Never done anything like this, so bear with me.
You're
You've
great. You're fine.
warmed me right up, though. So I'm Ashley, and I am the founder of Spectrum of Strength, and we are not only a brand but a nonprofit organization with a goal to really, or a mission to help women and children on their healing journey. I have been on a healing journey for about 8 years now, and my passion comes from my pain, guys. I have been in those dark places. I have dug myself out of the trenches, and I am just here to show that it is possible. And affirmations, positive words, and creativity are definitely some of my top tier tools that I have used day in and day out over the last 8 years. Um, and just due to the path of life, I'm in a point now. I am a stay-at-home mom of a beautiful 15-month-old little boy, and I'm not able to work in the schools or go volunteer at shelters. I'm not able to do those things anymore. And so I created some books and journals in this nonprofit organization. And I have some more things in the line and in the works. I want this to be a entire healing brand. I don't even think I've talked to Raven about like my candles and stuff. But I have a big dream, guys, and I'm using social media just recently to get some exposure and get out there. And so, thank you all for being here. Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to just be able to share a little bit of my story and how I've gotten to the point I've gotten to. So, thank you.
You're so very welcome. Gosh, right? Like you're so very welcome because what you're doing is just very powerful and it brings so much healing all across the world
Right.
with this with,
So,
with what you have literally created just from the journey that you have went through and so many people could even resonate with your story so much.
yeah. So, a little about me. Am from Central Florida. I'm 37 years old. I had to ask the doctor the other day how old I was. I was like, I think 37, 36 ish. Um, I had a pretty normal childhood. Parents are divorced. Graduated high school, the honors. I was dual enrolled. I did all the things. I was involved. Class president. You name it, I did it. I participated. I was involved. I had friends. I did it all. Moved away to college. Moved away at 18 to Tampa, to a big city, from considering where I was from. Um, had support from family, and was just told, like I had to work to support myself during school or whatever. And that's kind of where it all started to change. I started working in restaurants and I started bartending, and I was exposed to a whole nother life that I had never seen before. I am from a very small town. Um, don't get me wrong, it was a typical high school. They drank, they smoked. You know, it wasn't
Yeah,
anything
same
crazy, but
here.
it was.
Right,
I
same
was in
here.
a
I
total
did too.
normal environment, so to say.
Yeah,
I had a loving home. I never wanted anything. We weren't wealthy, but I never wanted anything. I had what I needed. So, you know, young adulthood, I started working in bartending and I started partying. I started hanging out with all these people and doing all these things and like trying things that I had never tried. And then I ended up bartending in some clubs that I had no business being in, and that turned into this, and this turned into that. And eventually, I met someone who knew I didn't belong in those environments. He saw me and he saw my light and he knew that I did not belong there and he preyed on me. He took me to all these nice places and had all these cars and just really captivated me with all of these luxuries. On top
mhm,
of, while he was doing that, slowly he was detaching me from everything that I knew, family included. You know, I didn't need a cell phone because we were always together. I didn't need this. Like, he would always let me drive the really nice car, you know, because I deserved that. But that meant he was driving my car. So, like, I could never leave because I didn't have a vehicle. I was always in his car. You know, like now looking back,
yeah,
you see those things with when you take a
yeah.
step back, you see it. I got pregnant. And at that point, I was still very headstrong and I didn't want to be wrong. So I stuck around and tried to make things work. And got pregnant again. And as anyone who has experienced any type of domestic violence, there comes a point where you're just living. You're just there. You're just there. You're not present, but you are physically there. I didn't really have like a whole lot of say. I did work. Um, he would take me to work. Sometimes he would pick me up. Sometimes he wouldn't. I have a dear friend. She was the only friend I was allowed to have with him. And it was because it was his friend. And they are no longer friends. However, her and I are still friends. And
Mhm.
my dear friend Mandy, if she wouldn't have come and picked me up, Raven, there were so many nights where I worked at Sears. I like sold TVs and electronic department.
Okay.
Um,
Yes,
just
yes.
to paint a picture, while I was pregnant, I sold TVs at Sears, and I wasn't
Mhm.
allowed to wear maternity clothes. I
Right.
wore clothes that fit him because they didn't fit me right. You know what I mean? It didn't make
Mhm,
it, if I wore clothes that fit me, I was dressing provocatively, or I was trying to get attention.
mhm, mhm.
So that just paints a little picture. Then he dropped me off, not pick me up. Mandy would come and save me all the time. It'd be 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like standing outside of a mall. I'm pregnant, pregnant, pregnant. Probably hadn't eaten, didn't have money, like had nothing. He had control of everything. um, and it's so hard to like look back and even think that I tolerated any of that for any amount of time, let alone years, years. Eventually, somehow, I started working at Disney World. I started working in a restaurant there, and the money was great. It was really good money. I had to drive far. I drove like 45 minutes, and I would work like
Mhm.
14-hour days, but I'd work three
Oh
or 4 days.
gosh.
Um,
Right.
and that would be it. And then I'd come home and like he watched the girls. He never worked. He kind of hustled here and there, so to say. Um,
Yeah.
and at Disney, I found the devil, so to say. Out of all places in the world, you know, the happiest place on earth, the most
Yeah.
beautiful place ever,
Right.
destroyed me. And that I found this one thing that made me numb. It gave me energy. It made me feel great, but it made me numb. He could say and do anything, and it did not matter. Um, and that took over, and that took over for a long time, and nobody knew about it. um, I was a very functioning addict. I can say that stuff on here, right? It's not like TikTok where it's
Yes. Oh gosh, no,
um
no. Yes, it's not as filtered
okay.
as TikTok is, right? No, you
So as a
can.
very functioning
Yes.
addict, I went to work. Like I shared earlier, I have two daughters. We didn't have so much of a routine and a schedule. Like they went to school and stuff, but like there was no
Yeah.
structured routine to our days. To where now, like I eat dinner at the same time every day. My body just wakes up. It's a little different now. So I continued to put those substances in my body that made me numb and let me survive life. And continue to do the things I needed to do to survive. Show up to work, work the long days, drive home, do whatever he needed, and take care of the girls. We did all those things. I look back and I've forgiven myself at this point. You know, I've been on quite a healing journey. I wasn't
Yes.
always present with my children. I was there. I was physically there. We did all the things. We went to the playground. I'm super artsy. We made all the arts and crafts. We baked. We did all the things. I have, thank goodness I have pictures of all that stuff because there's definitely memories that I don't have. But we did all the things. And what I have a problem and what I had to forgive myself for was not fully being present in those moments and being mindful in those
Mhm.
moments, which I don't think I knew what that
Mhm.
was back then,
Mhm.
let alone if I would have been able to do that if I knew what it was. Because
Mhm.
life was hard and it was painful and it hurt. So that happened. That lasted for about 5 years. I danced with the devil, so to say. And it got to the point where one of us had to go, him or I. And I couldn't deal with it anymore. That was where I was at in my head. It was him or
Mhm.
I. And I really wanted it to be him, but then I said, like, listen, it was so close to it being him many of nights. But I said my children would wake up and they would be traumatized for life and they would lose me along the way. Like,
Mm.
they wouldn't
Right,
lose him and then
right.
in prison for the rest of my life.
Right,
That was
right.
where I was at. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just get rid of myself. And I couldn't do that. And then I realized at that point, like that was my breaking point. I'm like, I need help. Like I need help. I have to figure something out. Life was terrible at this point. Like I had wrecked every car that I had. I was probably driving around with a suspended driver's license. Not that I
Mhm.
didn't have the funds to fix any of those things, but I didn't choose to fix any of those things.
Mhm.
I was just living. Eventually, I found a bed and a detox, and we won't even really go into the process it took for me to have him take me to that place,
Mhm.
and how he used that healing. I was ready to get help, and I was ready to take that route, and he used that against me for days, to get the things that he wanted or to try and make me see whatever, for days, before he finally took me. Like I lost the bed that I had and had to wait again for another one to open up. And if anyone has ever danced with the devil, you can know what those days are like. It is torment, and it's a constant, it's a rat race to fix the problem, so to say. Whatever that looked like at the day, at the moment, at the time, whatever it took. Eventually I got into the place and I spent 7 days there. And throughout those 7 days, they hold meetings. And I'm talking like you go to a place, and I've, again, like guys, I grew up in like a normal neighborhood, normal home. I'd never experienced anything like this. Like you didn't get to take your hair ties in there because that was
Right.
that was a weapon, so to say.
Exactly.
You had nothing. Like you didn't get to wear a bra. Like you were given it was like jail. Like you were given the t-shirt and the pants that they gave you, and you got to shower or you got to change clothes every couple of days, regardless of how bad you were sweating or detoxing. Like every 2 days, that was when you got to change clothes. um but it was a safe place. He couldn't get to me there. He tried. He sent the police
Mhm.
there. He tried to get in the front door. They had to like escort him. I mean, he tried.
Yeah.
After a few days, they start letting you make phone calls to make plans for your future, like what you're going to do when you leave there. And of course, like that's who I called, being the um, narcissistic, whatever. Like that's who I went to. He had my children. That's what else was I going to do? It's who I always went to. And the counselor, you know, like they listen to your phone calls because they're super, they're
Yes.
responsible for you, so to say. And she was like, absolutely not. Like, you can't continue to communicate with that while you're in here and expect to make any type of progress in your healing.
Mhm.
And she would no longer allow me to call him. So I probably didn't call anybody for like a day or so. And I finally broke down and I called my mom because I'm like, who's going to come get me when I have to leave here? Like,
Mhm.
who's going to come get me? So I called my mom. My mom had no clue. She had no clue. I had lived with her with the girls. I tried to leave him several times. Several times I left and I'd always come back. I mean, like I'd get an apartment and leave a month later. I left so many times that I'd always go back. Um, he made it to where I had to go back. He would get me fired from jobs. He made it where I always had to come back. At least that's what it felt like. And I did. I always went back until a point where I didn't. I went to that place. I detoxed from there. I called my mom. My mom came and got me. It was during hurricane season. I'll never forget it. I couldn't go stay in the shelters in Polk County because they, it's Grady Judd. If anybody knows, you know, they run your name when you go to those public shelters for warrants. And I had an outstanding warrant for missing traffic court. And so, like, I couldn't go home because I would go to jail. So, um, I found a sober living home, and my family helped me pay like the first month or whatever and get in there. And mind you, I had nothing. I had the clothes that I wore to that detox place. I was determined to not deal with him. Uh, I don't remember details specific, but I know his sister helped me try and drive over there and get my clothes and stuff. And he was just a total lunatic to the point, like, we called the police and we left. And so I left with nothing. I had nothing, absolutely nothing. I had the clothes I wore to detox, and that was it. And my mom came and got me, you know, got me some stuff to make it through a week's worth of clothes, you know, a few days where I could wash clothes. It moved me into the sober living place. And it was just like a house full of women. There was 6 or 7 of us that lived there. And that was the beginning of my healing journey. And that was almost 8 years ago. And you would think like from that point, it just started getting better. And I wish I could say like that was it, but there was definitely some hurdles to jump. It has taken me leaps and bounds and many years to get to where I'm at right now. It is
Mhm.
not an easy process. It is probably the hardest thing I have ever done. Most definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. I ended up having to leave Florida. He filed like missing persons reports and stuff. Baker acted me, said I was gonna hurt somebody or myself, and this was after like I was clean. Like he never, he never filed any of that stuff when I truly was a danger to society or myself at any given day.
Mhm.
Driving on the roads or just any given thing. He never was concerned about me then. It was only when I didn't tell him where I was and when I was doing well. Um, so eventually I left. I had kept in contact with the girls' school, and I told the school what I was doing. I communicated with the principal and said, I've been in schools my whole life. My parents are teachers and principals. Like, I know if any stability in life that they will have, it will be at school with him. I want to make sure their teachers keep an eye out, you know? And I left and I moved to Georgia. That's where my dad was. That was the hardest thing I ever did, but I knew that it got to the point like I couldn't get off a city bus 10 miles away from where my sober living house was, which was unaddressed. So he couldn't ever find me there. However, listen, this man would find me at a Walmart, like, or just random places in Tampa. And I never went to
Mhm.
the side of Tampa where I knew he was at. I always went to the other side. And even then, like, I couldn't go through a store. I was so worried. Like, I'd see somebody that knew him and he had eyes everywhere. And like, someone was going to find me
Mhm.
and see me and follow me. And it was, I couldn't heal. I was always worried about him or being surviving, living. Cause at that point it was, I was gone and what was he going to do to me? Cause I left. Like that was the fear at that point.
Mhm.
and I was feeling things because I was sober. I was feeling all the,
Exactly.
and I was terrified, and I was not medicated whatsoever back then for as far as anxiety and stuff goes. If anyone's ever dealt with coming off of those things and trying to learn to live sober, like I didn't sleep for days. I mean, it was hard. It was really, really hard. There were you had to go to so many meetings a week to live in this house, and remind you, like, I didn't have a car, and
Right.
I wanted treatment. I signed myself up for inpatient or outpatient classes and therapy and stuff. But I mean, I'd get up at 5 in the morning and walk to a bus stop, and I'd never done any of this in my life. Like I always had a car.
Mhm.
I always had a drive. Like I never
Yeah,
city bus. Like this was a whole new life for me. um,
exactly.
as an adult, as a 30-year-old woman learning how to even take a city bus.
Right.
And we won't even talk about like the humbling aspect of that, because when you drive around your entire life and you drive past those bus stops, like it's not even a thought. Like it's not
So
even
true.
a thought as to what those people go through just to get to the grocery store. Like it's so like
Yes.
until you experience those things for yourself, um, and I say it with the military too, until you experience a deployment or it touches your home or it touches your circle, like you don't, these things happen
Hmm.
every single day. Every single day. There is a family that is deployed from one of their main members, you know what I mean, or separated. Every
Exactly.
single day, there is a mom or a woman on, or a child to say on the street, just trying to get to the grocery store. These days, I can't even imagine. I can't fathom what it would be like to be a young parent right now with things as expensive as they are. I think about that all the time because I've been
Me
in the
too.
grocery store and I've knows that I have a $10 bill and that has to feed us for 2 days. And if that means ramen and a pack of bread and peanut butter and jelly, back then, like you could do that for $10 or $15. These days,
Exactly.
not.
No.
It breaks my heart when I think about stuff like that. But until it affects your circle, until it comes into your world, you don't think about those things. So, like, talk about humbling, having to take a city bus everywhere, and leave 3 hours early just to get there on time. Because if you're not on time, they lock you out.
Yeah.
They're trying to teach you structure and rules.
Mhm.
Because until that point, you've probably lived pretty unruly, so to say. So I left Florida. I went to Georgia, and that really changed my life. I moved in with my dad. There were some things. That's a whole nother story for another time. The guy I was dating ended up passing away, and that was a big eye opener as far as continuing to make the right choice. Uh, and then I met Josh, and that was random and crazy. And I went to Alaska to visit a few times. um,
Right?
I somehow met my husband in Georgia, guys. Raven's kind of heard the story on Tinder, out of all
Mhm.
things, swiping right. That swipe right was the best thing I ever did in my life, and we joke about that. However, I had recently moved, 800 miles away from where I'd been living my entire life. He was stationed almost 4,000 miles away from where we met, but somehow our paths crossed, and I went to Alaska and visited a couple times, and like the third time I went, I surprised him, and things didn't really go as planned. And he dropped me off at the airport, and I never left Alaska. I called a friend I met on the plane, and I stayed, and my life really changed, guys. I truly found who I was. Outdoors, I learned to appreciate small things in life and find joy in just ordinary beauty of day to day living. I learned what real friendship was there. I learned what quality people are there. And these are things I had never experienced in my life. If I was friends with somebody, it was a beneficial friendship in some way, whether it was for them or for me. I never had genuine kind people in my life. And I continued to build. I continued to go to therapy. From the time I went to Georgia, I continued therapy. I went to therapy probably 4 or 5 days a week. My stepmom would take me, and God bless them, because again, like I didn't have a driver's license, I didn't have a car, I didn't have any of these things. I had nothing. When I got my driver's license in Georgia, after a few months of like living and really trying to get my things back together, I was at a point. I was stable, and I did get my driver's license back in Georgia, primarily I think because I met Josh and he's like, you know, in the military and had all his shit together. And I'm like,
Right.
one of the first days we talked, it was like, what's your 5-year plan? And I just like laughed. I totally just busted out laughing. And I'm like, fuck, 5 years. I said, I'm trying to worry about like this week. Like we're going to get through in
Exactly.
this month. Like
Yeah.
I can't tell you where I'm going to be next. Like I'll never forget that conversation. We were driving to a Bass Pro and he said that. And then like, I just remember feeling so awkward and I'm being like, am I really that far behind in life? Like people are thinking about 5 years and I'm just trying to get through like this week. Like, and then I figured like that would be the end of him and I. And like, you know, he wants more, which he probably did. And it is what it is. And we've gotten to this point. Not that we were together this entire time by any means. But I got to Alaska and that was where my growth truly happened. That is where I found out what I was capable of, what I was worthy of, and that is where I really started to rebuild myself and recreate Ashley, because I lost myself. I didn't know who I was. I I was who he created. I was who he said I was, and I was nothing. And it took a long time to rebuild that, and I have finally become an independent person again. Um, and even so, I stayed in Alaska almost 5 years. I started working for the schools as a substitute, and that turned into being a behavior specialist at an elementary school. That was a permanent position, which I truly loved, and I enjoyed working with the troubled kids. I related, and I got it. From there, I went on to a drug and alcohol intervention and preventionist for the junior senior high. And I didn't think I'd want to work with high school kids, like with the attitude thing. But that was my place. I connected with any
Yes.
young adult and
Yes.
was able to be real with them, and they sensed that I was
Mhm.
being real with them, and I felt like I made
Mhm.
more of an impact with them because they're in the position to make those choices. Those kids I was working with in elementary school, like they have a long time before they can control anything that happens to them, unfortunately. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like uh,
Yes.
junior senior high, like they're making choices that affect their life. They are in charge of
Yep.
themselves and the choices they make. And if I preach to them, I
Mhm.
preach to them about every choice you make in life, there is a consequence. It may be negative, it may be positive, it may be immediate, it may be in 10 years. Consequences for every decision you make. Think about that. And it is so true. I still am suffering consequences as far as my children go, and for choices I made 10 years ago. Like, and that's just the reality of it. So I found a passion for helping people. I found a passion for giving back, and I wasn't even really sharing my story then. I was just bits and pieces about being strong and loving
Mhm.
yourself. To
Mhm.
the kids, that was my thing to them. Was like learning to love yourself. That was to the young girls that were heartbroken, um, the boys that were, not cool enough, or somebody broke their heart too. I mean, the guys go through it too. I think that's definitely
So
overlooked
true.
a lot. They do. They struggle as well. And so self love was just a big thing there, and in my classroom, and then my husband got PCS out of Alaska. We weren't married then, so we were just kind of like seeing each other. He moved to Colorado, and I didn't leave Alaska. I stayed there. I stayed there for about 9 months, um, and then he asked me to come to Colorado like March, and I told him at the end of the school year, I needed to finish out my school year. And if you guys knew me, I've been waiting on this man to ask me that for years and years and years. And when he finally asked, I was so confident in loving my life that I was able to be like, I'm going to do what I need to do, and I'm going to finish the school year, and you'll still be there or you won't. Like I've been here
Right.
throughout, I've been here to this point. Like I have had your back, and I have waited for you to figure your shit out and for me to figure my stuff out. And I've been here.
Mhm.
Now I need to do this, and you will either
Mhm.
be there or you won't. And so I packed up my little 16 by 16 cabin in Alaska. I packed it up in my brand new car that I had bought the year before. First brand new car I'd ever bought in my life. I had had the job and I had rebuilt myself and my credit, and I was able to do that and like make my
Mhm,
payments on time and pay for my
mhm.
insurance, and like the tag was
Yes.
mine. It wasn't like anything crazy or sketchy or, um,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like when you look at it, like
Yes. Yes.
nothing is how it's supposed to be. And for the first time in my life, I was so legit, and it was all me. There was nobody else doing it for me. I had support, and I had genuine people in my life that wanted me to win. And I always say that makes such a difference when you have true support. Um, and so I packed my
Absolutely.
little Honda CRV up, and the hardest thing I ever did was drive away from. The second hardest thing I ever did was drive away from that cabin.
I can only
First
imagine.
hardest thing was choosing myself and leaving Florida. Second hardest thing was choosing love and leaving Alaska. But I knew I wanted it, and I knew the potential. um, I didn't know I would be here now and have the beautiful things that I have as far as my little boy and this home and all the things. And I don't mean things like physical things. I hope
I
everybody
know.
understands that.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
like fulfilled days and being told that I'm loved and know that it's true. All of those things. So I moved to Colorado, and I left my job in Alaska working in the schools, and that was hard. And I started to go to the schools in Colorado. They were way too big for me. I didn't feel comfortable. So I started
Mhm.
nannying for private families, and that was good. It paid the bills, so to say.
Yeah.
I was high on life then, as far as like him and I were finally doing it. We were going to get married, like, and we did. We got married a few months after I moved there. Like, life was just great. And then when we left Colorado, again, we're military. So this summer we moved down to Texas. And I really struggled with that move because I haven't been able. First of all, I won't watch kids for nothing. Like that is, I take care of children like they are own, and I will not. I have boundaries, and I know what I'm worth, and I will not do it for anything for nothing. And in Texas, the child care here is it is
It's
unreal.
ridiculous.
It's
It's
unreal.
ridiculous here too, right? And my
Um,
daughter, she's been in early child development. That's her major, right? And she's a preschool teacher. I used to be as well. So I do know.
it
Like,
is.
have her three and still be there and knowing that, it is. It's just
It's unreal.
there's just it's unreal. It so is.
And
That's an
that's your
understatement.
future. That is your future,
Yes.
and that's what you're
Yes.
investing in your future is. And
Exactly.
then you wonder why we see all these crazy incidents at these places. Well, you get what you pay for.
Right? It's
I'm pretty sure
true.
Dave Chappelle said that in one of his stand-ups, and he was talking about all the bad cops, and they'll be like, "Oh, it was a bad apple." He's like, "Well, there's some jobs where you can't just have a bad apple. Like when you're flying deltas, airplanes, they can't just be like,
Exactly.
oh, he's just a bad guy,
Right.
you know." Um, so when I came to Texas, I was just feeling kind of empty, and I love being a stay-at-home mom. I am so grateful and blessed, and I hate even making it sound like a complaint when I say this. But I needed more. I needed to feel like I had a job other than like maintaining a home, which is a very important job. Don't get me wrong. I love having my house clean. I love making dinner for my family. I love being home with my little boy.
Mhm.
Um, but I needed more to fulfill my heart. And so I started making these coloring books. And originally it started with like a coloring calendar, and I'm like, because I really enjoy coloring, and I was like, that'd be cool, you could color a calendar every month. And then I was like, I'm gonna make a spot where you could write goals every month, like what you want to accomplish. And then I think it's kind of like a journal, because you can look back through the year and see like what you
Yeah.
know what I mean. So
Yes.
that's kind of where it started. And if you go on Amazon, there is still a coloring calendar for 2025. um, and that just kind of drove me into making the coloring book. So I started with It's Spectrum of Strength, Volume 1. And Volume 1 is just 50 sayings and quotes that I have had in my journals, on stickers on my walls. words, positive words that have truly made the hard days better. You know what I mean? Um,
Yes.
because when you, like I said an hour ago, you think when you move into that sober living place and you start living right that things just kind of fall into place, and that's not true. Life is still really hard. Life is still really hard for me today. Even in the position that I'm in now, I still have really hard days. They are not as near as debilitating as they used to be, and they are not as common as they used to be, but they still happen. And you have
Mhm.
to have a toolbox, so to say. You have to have tools that you know can get you through those days so you're not going to break. My toolbox might be different than yours. There might be some similar tools in the two. And that's so I believe coloring and creativity are similar on any healing journey. I think that they are beneficial and therapeutic for regardless of what you were healing from. Um, so I started with the volume 1 coloring book, and it is just life is too short to battle with yourself. You can't heal in the same environment you were broken in. Growth is painful, change is painful. Nothing is more painful than staying where you don't belong. Just words that have pulled me through hard days. The coloring book is just full of like pages to color, and my idea behind it is you have something positive to meditate on while you're coloring. When I was in those places, when I was in those homes, in those facilities, there was always crayons and paper. There was always that, always. But it was never anything. You were never coloring anything with like a meaning behind it. You know what I mean? And
Yes. Yes.
you know what? Yeah, I can think back now and I could be like, the other day I just printed like a random pattern and I wanted to color a pattern. And then I wrote my own affirmations on the pattern because that's just my style. However, and
Yes.
I think like, oh, I could have done that back then, but my mind was not in that place back then. I couldn't see anything positive in any day besides I had a roof over my head and like I wasn't uncomfortable when I woke up. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't uncomfortable
Yes.
when I woke
Yes.
up.
Yes.
There were some positives, but I couldn't see them. I couldn't see the light. I sure as hell wasn't gonna like put it out there.
Right. Right.
So those are words I started. I don't know if it was in therapy or in those group meetings or where it was, but I started really writing down affirmations and saying them out loud. And not just affirmations, positive quotes, anything that resonated with me. I'd scroll on Pinterest for hours. I really tried to stay off social media. I'm pretty sure I didn't get on Facebook or anything like that for the first couple months. I really tried to change my people, places, and things and not associate. I changed my phone number. Um, you learn, I mean, you really, it's like being brand new, so to say. Like you start over.
Exactly. You're rebirthing. It's like so much transformation, and you're literally just rebirth yourself, your whole everything, people, places, things, your whole being, just
And it's
everything.
like you have to learn like how many hours are in a day that I have to fill up with something to do? Like what am
You're
I supposed
right.
to do? You know what I mean? So it was
Yeah.
I went to a lot of meetings. I went to a bunch of therapy sessions, and I colored a lot. And back then, I didn't think about these books at all. Like that wasn't even my mind wasn't able to do that at that point. But just recently, I started with a calendar, and I'm like, oh, I could do this, and then it turned into Spectrum of Strength, and then it turned into this journal. So I started with volume 1 and 2. I have 2 coloring books that are just Spectrum of Strength, volume 1, volume 2. There's 50 pages in each book. Um, volume 2 is very, very similar to volume 1, just different sayings and different quotes. They're all linked. I think you can link them somehow, or we can put it in the comments or something. But
Oh yes, I will most definitely everything that your Amazon link to everything, to your Amazon link, your
okay,
website, even if you want them to come and follow you on TikTok
cool.
to join
Yeah,
your lives,
yeah,
absolutely. Just
awesome.
send that
So
to me and
here's
I
an
will literally
example.
put that in the description so
I
they
do
know
a
where to contact you. Yes.
perfect. Yeah, that's so great. Thank you. Um,
Yes. Oh, absolutely. You got that. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
so if you're interested, any of my social medias, guys, there's pictures of the insides of these books. I go live and color out of them all the time on TikTok. So the coloring books turned into Spectrum of Strength, and that was just my title of the coloring books. And my brother is autistic, and that's kind of where I got the spectrum from because healing, there's so many variations of why we heal, and there's so many different ways of healing, and it just made me think of like the spectrum, you know, and like
Yes.
how it can all be different but all be very similar, you know.
Yes.
um and then strength, like you're just full of strength, you don't know where your strength comes from sometimes, and strength isn't always physical. Like sometimes it is, but sometimes it can be just like getting up and making your bed every day. There's a spectrum of strength within you, and I just want people to see that like it's already in you. Um, you just have to dig sometimes to figure it out, and sometimes you just haven't even been identifying the strength that you have, you know, and you've been trucking and trucking and pushing, and you don't even see it. So that's where the spectrum of strength came from, is I just, we are full of strength ourselves, and this, and the healing journey, it can be so different, but it can be so similar. I do deeply believe that healing begins with self-love. I think I said that earlier. I think you have to learn to love
Yes.
yourself before you can heal from anything. We have to forgive ourselves. We have to learn to identify wonderful things about ourselves and believe that they are wonderful and believe that we are worthy. Um, and that was a very, very hard thing to do as a domestic violence survivor. I say it all the time. I'd rather be beaten black and blue and bruises heal overnight in weeks. Mental abuse takes years and years and years. Those cuts are deep. um, and so self-love, I believe, is the foundation of all healing. And so that kind of drove me to make the affirmation journal and coloring book. So it is A to Z affirmations for self reflection and self love. It is a journal and a coloring book. It is the most basic journal that you will ever have. It is direct, it is simple. However, I do believe that's what we need at the beginning of our journeys. It is really hard to identify good things about yourself when you're in that position, and you have to start somewhere. And I think this journal and coloring book is great. I think that you can color and get the therapeutic benefits of that while you're digging and soul searching, and trying to identify, you know, I am amazing. The prompt for I'm amazing says take a moment to think about all the things that make you special and unique. Write down 3 things that you love about yourself, whether it's your creativity, your kindness, or something you're really good at. Remember, you are amazing just the way you are. Write down 3 things that you're good. You know what I mean? Like that seems so
Exactly.
simple, but that can
It's
really
so
be challenging.
powerful, though.
It
The
can really
things
be
that
challenging.
seem so simple is just so powerful, is it not?
It
It's
is, yeah.
so powerful.
Especially so, like, and I say it in this book too, like read the things out loud to yourself. Like there's something therapeutic
Mhm.
about journaling, and then reading it out loud, it hits differently, you get more clarity. I don't know why, I don't, and it might not be for everybody, but for me personally, I can read something that I wrote and it just hits differently, I hear it in a different way. um
Mhm.
so every letter of the alphabet has an affirmation. I am brave. I am caring. I am daring. So you have a sheet to color with the affirmation, and then you have a full
Beautiful.
page to write about. I am daring says, think of a time when you tried something new or stepped out of your comfort zone, even if it felt a little scary. How did it feel to be daring and take that chance? Write about how you showed courage to do something bold and what you learned from it. I think this is so simple that anybody can use it. And like I said earlier, I believe if we teach our children self love at a younger age, that they can grow into strong, um, worthy young adults and possibly not choose the same paths that we chose in life, that we are healing from, possibly
Absolutely.
not put themselves in a situation where they have to heal from. Um, I think a lot of that starts with self love and boundaries and knowing that you're worthy, and you don't deserve certain things, or you're worthy of respect and love. And so I do. I know this book, the I Am Loved. I said I read it in my live the other day. It is L, and it's I Am Loved. And I said I'm going to be totally honest. Like L is kind of the middle of the alphabet, and if you would have told me to write about how I'm loved, like that would have been a really hard thing for me to do then. And I said in the live, like you don't necessarily have to work through this book in order. You can do whatever you want to do. If you're feeling quirky one day, write the I am quirky or color that one and then write about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to do it in order. There are no instructions with it. Color, zone out, meditate on how you were proud, how you were loved, how you were joyful. My goal in this is by the time you finish every letter in this book, that you are truly able to identify some wonderful things that are in you already that you just don't see. Everybody else around you sees it. If you're surrounding yourself with the right people, they already see it. You don't see it. And my goal with this book is by the end of it, you are able to really identify some things that are truly wonderful about yourself. And begin your self-love journey and begin healing from the inside out. So that is my goal with the books. They are all on Amazon. They are all in the TikTok shop. Now, the mission behind Spectrum of Strength is to take the profits from these books sold, all three of them, and turn around and buy more journals. I do have a discounted price if you want to just purchase journals to share. However, my mission is to give as many of these journals away to women's shelters, treatment facilities, children's homes, counseling offices. Wherever there is someone that is on that journey, I want them to have this. I truly, truly believe that healing begins with self-love. And I think this is a powerful tool to use at the beginning of that journey. And not just at the beginning. Hell, I've been on this journey for 8 years, and Raven will testify to this. I still color out of this book in the mornings on my lives. And I say then, it's not as therapeutic for me to do this when I'm live and talking to you all. However, I still want to expose the book. But guys, I color out of these. My husband bought me
She does.
desks and
Yes.
stuff so I can color on them out on the couch with him when we're watching TV or whatever. Like, these are still tools that I use daily. I don't use them daily anymore. As far as like I have to, I do color out of them daily because I am trying to get exposure. However,
Yes.
the healing part gets better, guys. It is not all. It does get better. There are
It
rainbows and
does.
butterflies and sparkles and sunshine and all the wonderful things
Exactly.
that you can like dream of. It is there, and it's probably 10 times better than you even imagine. Baby steps in the same direction, you will get somewhere. One of the pages in my book says the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. You just have to keep making the right steps, and you have to keep choosing yourself day in and day out. You are worthy of a better life than what you think. Anyways, thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me share all those things. I'm very, very honored to be
Absolutely.
able to share any of my story. It is not easy, and I'm getting better at it, and I'm getting more comfortable with sharing. I don't know if I'm getting better, but I'm getting more comfortable at it. So thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Oh my gosh, Ashley, just thank you. Okay, once again, because you know what? This is, it's raw, it's real, and it was passionate. Just the passion and the journey, and you being vulnerable to share is such miraculous strength. So thank you, my love. Literally, thank you. And please feel to like, subscribe, and share. And literally, all the information to get a hold of Ashley will literally be in this description, her TikTok, and how you can literally purchase her journals, her coloring books. And it is therapy. It's so much therapy on the self journey to know thyself and to love thyself, no matter where you come from, who you are, or even what culture you literally are born into. And it's just miraculous because you also are, it's such therapeutic, like you're getting such therapy. Even for me, I color, I do watercoloring and paintings as well, and me just tapping into that with my creative expression, it's helped me more for my creative expression, but it's also helped me on my healing journey as well. And we'll always be healing no matter where we're at, and we'll always be growing and always be evolving. And it's one step at a time, and it's one breath at a time, and it is a process. Absolutely.
Yeah, and anyone who look again, this is not I'm not trying to get rich off of these books. If you know someone that's in the field or in the area of mental health or recovery, healing, anything, please send me a message. I am more than happy to send digital copies to whomever. That doesn't cost me anything but my time, and I am more than happy to do that. I want them out there. I want to be able to give these books away. Yes. However, like, let's connect. I'm open to any kind of collaborations, whatever. Like, I'm just trying to get some exposure and get them out there because I do believe in them. I know that
Absolutely.
they can help.
I do too. I full heartedly believe
So
in them.
yeah.
I have chills on them. I have chills because that's how much I believe in them. I believe in them so much that they need to be in shelters, like you said. They need to be all across the world, quite honestly. They really do. And this is God's grace to make it do so, because I firmly believe it will be done.
Thank you, Raven. I appreciate you.
You're so welcome, my love. You're so welcome, Ashley. I appreciate you. And with that, with everybody, you have a very wonderful, blessed Sunday, and namaste and love-a-stay, my beautiful souls. Until next. Oh, and also too, I wanted to shout out this. I will be doing Reiki sessions also with the lovely Jamie London Wahlberg. Literally, the link is rolling across the banner on Wake In. But we literally do a live TikTok. That's where we're moving it to, quite honestly. And we have like a 2-hour session once a month. So look forward to that literally in the next few weeks. And yes, and another lives are literally coming up on my YouTube channel as well. But if you want any more information about me, all my links are literally in my bio, my LinkedIn, my TikTok. If you would like to be a guest on my podcast, there's also a link in my calendar link to set up a Zoom link, a one-on-one session with me to do an interview. You're more than welcome to do so. And with that, everybody, we're going to end for now, but love a stay and namaste and bye-bye for now, everyone.